Om Shanti and good morning. Time flies past too quickly. One of the things I would recommend for each one is something that helped me enormously when I'd surrendered, become a full-time dedicated Brahmakumari, and then I was asked to come back to London, to my home, to my parents, because there wasn't a centre outside India. And the comfortable thing for me would have been to stay on top of the mountain in Abu and spend my life there. And it wasn't to be. I was asked to come back. And the one thing that really made sure that everything was in place was to keep a timetable that was a little bit similar to the timetable that you've had here. So starting the day early as you can manage, and that period of silence, of recharging and refilling and setting the compass straight is invaluable. Whatever your role in the world or whatever it is you do, that precious time for yourself is really, truly the refilling. But also, together with that, study of some spiritual material. Whatever it is that feels comfortable for you and uplifts you and reminds you of the eternal, universal values, so that they come fresh again to you. Because the influence of the world is away from values, and it's commercialism and it's exhibitionism and things that are not so pleasant. But to remind myself of what my own universal values are. So whether it's some scripture, whether it's some prose or poetry, whatever it is, but something that will again be a reminder. Because it's so easy to forget. I'm a soul and that's just a point of light, and so it slips away very quickly. So the silence for myself is the underlining of that. And then feeding the mind something nourishing is valuable. And then through the day, why we haven't had the music come on is because technical systems break down. And the person who could fix it is sitting in London, and probably now it's the weekend, or probably come and fix it. But just that reminder to the self, every hour maybe, with your watch, with your computer, in some way or another, to give you a signal. Literally just a moment to come back in here, connect, and then go back into the things that you were doing. I know that where people have benefited from this, they've carried it back not just to their home, but to their place of work. And so I think it was you who mentioned that starting meetings with silence, it's something that people understand and value a great deal. So it's not something that's off the planet. It's really something that they'll appreciate. It'll help you, but it'll also help everybody else. So find ways of incorporating little moments of silence through your day. Evenings are usually occupied with family and social responsibilities, but if you can, even just a short time for silence for yourself at the end of the day is a time to spread good vibrations. That hour of dusk, the day's activities are done, and evening activities maybe haven't yet started. But that short space of time of dusk is a time when they say angels circle over the earth. And so that's a very good time. And you are the angels circling the world, sharing that light. But at night, before going to sleep, an audit. What did I learn today? What could I have done differently? Not bad or better or anything, but maybe when I start reflecting, there'll be something that comes in my mind that will tell me I could have handled it differently. And so that time of audit is very powerful to bring closure and to tie a ribbon at the end of the day and settle it and be finished. I've learned the lessons I need to prepare me for the next day. And if I've done that, probably my sleep will be better, and probably my morning will be better also. So next day I begin with a fresh vision of myself and my work and everything else. So it's a very practical way to apply the things that have been learned here and sustain them and on an ongoing basis. Because you can't starve yourself and then say, I'm going to feed myself a great deal. It doesn't quite work like that. But if you're hydrating yourself regularly, feeding yourself regularly, then your health stays well. Same thing. If I continually sustain the soul, it's going to be more valuable for me than to say, okay, I'll meditate for an hour once a week. That's better than nothing, of course. But if I meditate even for a short time every single day, it's much, much more beneficial. And there might have been many questions that have been answered through Maureen's sessions and the chats that we've had, but probably there is still many questions that remain, and maybe some of the things you've heard will have triggered more questions. Yes. That I'm checking myself, then the question of changing is the whole subject of taking God's help with that realization, then understanding what I need to do on two levels. A, what I need to change in myself, but also, can I go back to that person, that situation, and seek forgiveness? And God's love will give me the humility and the power to be able to do that. And most times, it's better to do it sooner rather than later. And so if I'm checking on a daily basis, then I can lift the phone that same time, or I can speak to them next morning. And generally speaking, most people will accept an apology when they know that it's sincere. Your tone of voice is going to tell them that, or your letter or your personal contact in some form will tell them that. And I found that most times people are willing to then accept the apology and say, it's okay, I understand. Because people understand that sometimes such pressures come that old habits come out. And if perchance they're not ready for that, then I have to be patient and just send them good wishes. Not hold anything against them in my heart, but send them good wishes. So.
What if it was just a thought? If it didn't, if it wasn't interaction, it's not about the person, but it's just something I started with my thought. And I'm aware that this is going to have an effect on whatever in life, or even a bigger picture, but it's, can I take it back? Can I undo it?
If it's just a thought, it's much, much easier to deal with because it hasn't yet had an impact outside, but it's had an impact on me. And the beauty of checking every night in this way is that I can pick up that thought and I can turn it around. And with the awareness of God, I can make it happen differently. And I'm seeing that somebody is being really stubborn and what they're doing is wrong. And I'm thinking, I'm going to challenge them. And in my meditation, in my audit, I realized that challenging them is going to make things worse. And so I think, okay, I'll find a different way to dance around them rather than fight with them. Yeah. And those vibrations reach out actually. The vibrations of my thoughts reach others. A thought of good wishes reaches people. At times of illness, when people have received good wishes, there's been studies and research done on this, especially in the USA, and they found that patients who received good wishes through prayer and meditation got better, and other people who didn't receive those complained, and so then they set up a study to share good wishes with others also. But it works. And so if good wishes can reach, definitely negative thoughts can also reach. And so I have to reverse this firstly inside and then outside. But it just means that there is something new and creative that I'm doing every day. Otherwise, old patterns keep repeating and they don't change, and they get more and more entrenched. Whether it's substance addictions or whether it's inner addictions, they just go deeper and deeper. And so taking power and having, because so often we realize that something's wrong, but we don't have the capacity to stop it. But the connection means that I'm tuning myself to be able to take power and bring about the change that I realize I need to make. But the silence is the key thing in which I can reflect and then come to a realization. Otherwise, I don't even realize. I think it's normal. And that's been the problem. We've thought anger is normal, we've thought ego is normal, we've thought that greed is normal, attachment is normal. We've put this label of normality to all of this. But now today, I know that I can attain a higher state than I'm in now. And that's possible because there's a recording within me. And I just have to keep reminding myself of that recording and move in that direction. So first is my own timetable, which is fundamental. The other thing is, can I keep this higher awareness of sitting here on my throne and looking out at the world from here rather than here? Just think about your child, even if your child's now an adult, your grandchildren, but whoever it is I feel responsible for. Yes, I have a karmic responsibility, I have a moral obligation, but can I do it differently? Can I see myself as a trustee, a steward? We've been told that nature, the environment was created and humans were told to be the stewards of that. And we didn't do too well at it. We went the opposite direction. But also, my children, I didn't make my children. But they've come to me as a gift from the universe, and I'm a trustee. And seeing them in that vision of a sparkling star, a child of God, and myself as a trustee to make sure that I provide the right nurture, not just food and shelter, but also spiritual nurture for this being to grow up in the best possible way, changes my attitude to them enormously. Otherwise, where there's a thought, my child, there's this possessiveness in which I want control. And children hate control. And they feel it, and they'll wriggle, and they'll be uncomfortable, and they'll try to run away from it and play mischief. But when there's love and good communication, children understand more than we imagine them to. They're very perceptive. They pick up vibrations more quickly than adults do. And so to really give them that respect and love, not just love, but respect. And to recognize that I hold them in trust. They're not mine to control and dictate to. Makes a huge, huge difference in their upbringing and the way they mature and find their own destiny. And if I treat them with respect, they're going to grow up with self-esteem. And they're going to find their way in life in a much better way than otherwise. And the word no. How often have we said no to a child? Instead of saying no, can I sit them down, make time, sit them down and talk to them and say, if you do this, this is what will happen. If you do this, this is what will happen. What would you like to do? And so, understanding that we are appealing to them with love, to their reason, rather than just imposing. Somebody told me the other day that they're scared of public speaking, and I think many have been through that. But they said that they understood finally that it was because they were told, stop talking. They were told, no, you can't do this. And so where there's been that suppression, it's led to the different traits and character which are not very comfortable as an adult. And so if today I know all of these things, can I behave differently with my child or grandchildren or whoever? But maybe the most essential thing is to be able to hold my head up in dignity at all times by reminding myself that I'm a child of God, and as such, my qualities are the same as my parents' qualities. This is who I am in my original state of being. And self-esteem and self-respect has an amazing impact in everything I do in my life. It keeps me on track in a most beautiful way. And so if this is my conscious practice, then really it's not I that do this, do that, do the other, but I'm an instrument. Just as I'm an instrument and a trustee for my children and whoever is within my care and responsibility, in the same way, I'm an instrument for whatever task it is I've taken up in the world out there. I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, I'm an administrator. Whatever it is I do, can I simply be an instrument for that? And this awareness of who I am and my connection with the divine is the foundation for being an instrument. And my hope is that as you leave here, when you see people at the airport and they're frazzled and concerned and rushing around, you will be able to just see them all as souls and give them peace and light. They won't know what you're doing, but they'll feel it. And the staff at the desk, again, can I see them as souls? And they're probably, it's Sunday, it's very busy, it's summer, it's holiday time, and things are going crazy, but just see them as souls and give them a smile. And they'll smile back for sure. So, being an instrument is much easier than taking it on your head and I have to do this, I have to do this, I'm responsible for this, how can I manage it all, it's too much. All those wild thoughts keep coming. But being an instrument, and I can be very light, very easy. Your smile will serve, your face will serve, your vibrations will serve. You don't have to teach anyone. You can just be who you are, and that will help others. But thank you for all that you've shared in these sessions, so much from your heart. And thank you for last night. Wonderful talents emerging. Very beautiful. What happens is that we get into amnesia. We forget who we are. And I don't see that evil has an existence on its own. But it's my loss of awareness, my forgetfulness, my amnesia that makes me forget who I really am and my own original qualities, and then negativity takes over. And so loss of peace, and I get angry, loss of love, and I get jealous and competitive. So it's actually a negative state of affairs, which is a deficiency. But when I come back to my awareness of who I am, I start putting things right in here, around here, and the effect grows. There's two different energies that come together. It's a lot of upheaval. And so here you have the descending energy, the negativity, and then you have the ascending energy of that awareness of consciousness and values and so on. And so these two energies are at this moment in conflict with each other. But there's going to come a moment when the ascending energies will rise and the descending energies will finish. And what we're doing today is focusing on the ascending energies. And at this moment, it's not so useful to be telepathic. The noises that I'm going to pick up are probably more than I can handle. And so this moment, what I need to do is, yes, give myself space and time for silence to recuperate my lost energy and power. But in terms of communication with others, it's important just to I can't remember if it was yesterday or today, but the lesson we were studying, we study the same lesson across the world in all the different languages of the world, so we're all on the same page of spiritual journey in a way, and that's lovely. But we were reminded of this slogan, speak less, speak softly, speak slowly. And so, yes, I can reduce how much energy I'm putting out, but I still need to communicate in words very clearly, softly and slowly, what it is that's important for me. And at this moment, it's not useful to pick up everybody's vibrations and accumulate extra stuff in here. I don't have space for it. And so let me sort out myself first. But yes, as part of the vision that Brahma Baba had of the future world, where everything is in harmony once again, not so many words are needed. Today, I say something and the possibility of misunderstanding and miscommunication is huge. 4 people hear the same words, but their interpretation is completely different. And so, going through this transition, moving to that higher state, which will be there for all, then yes, the communication's much sweeter, much simpler, more like music rather than words. And so yes, that's the future. It's that amnesia where instead of thinking of I, this point of light, I think of the long I, this one. And so to reverse that today takes a lot of attention. And in that state of ego, there's so much that's negative that comes up. In fact, if I think about this I, then the anger comes, you're younger, you're less than me, I'm bigger, I'm better, why aren't you listening to me? So all the anger comes out, the attachments, you belong to me, I am the one who's in charge. all the negativity comes from this I, ego. And when I come back to the awareness of this I, then in this I there's the awareness of being the child of God, recognizing everyone as a child of God, as a sparkling light, and seeing them in that way. So there's respect. There isn't ego, there's respect with humility. And the great people I've met through the years, they have a tremendous amount of humility. The greatness is reflected through their humility. And then where there's no selfishness, then there's an openness of spirit and a generosity. But it's the last thing to get rid of. The first lesson and the last lesson. My behavior, my lightness will definitely make people aware that I've gone through an experience, and maybe it might make them ask questions about what it is I've been doing, and that opens the door for a conversation. But where there's fear, I know that if I begin to see them as that child of God, that divine light, then my attitude towards them and my vibration towards them changes. And so that's very important. How do I see them? Can I hold that vision of them as a being of light? And not be afraid, because who knows what it is they're going through? Who knows what it is they've been through in the past that's made them the way they are? But if I can see them in that original state of consciousness, then that can open the door.
Thank you. I hand over the mic to Alexandra because Alexandra will leave us soon, a few minutes, and she's going to be the first one who is sharing her experiences and also something else.
What we're going to move into is just